Ah, Hingham, a wonderful community with many green parks, ocean views, and even views of Boston. But these treasures that make our community so great are in jeopardy. With climate change, we're noticing water levels rising and changes in seasonal temperatures. Now, Hingham does a great job of recycling and having conversations about how to reduce plastic and raising awareness about solar energy. But what about other things in a home? New England is notorious for its winters and its not so present spring season. Heating and cooling your home requires gas and isn't the most cost-effective way to heat or cool your home, nor is it environmentally friendly. But there is something out there called heat pumps, which are the environmentally friendly version of gas heating and cooling systems. Sounds great, right? But what the heck are heat pumps? Let's start with learning the basics.
A heat pump is a system that basically provides the opposite of whatever the weather is outside. It's a system that manages to naturally kind of capture the energy and uses a bit of electricity to send that energy throughout your home. So you have really hot weather outside, and heat pumps are very efficient in hot weather. That's where they work best. That's why, states in Arizona and California, Florida, places down south, they really can adopt heat pumps at a faster rate.
The technology has been around for a very long time. It's like a regular central air conditioner. That's technically a type of heat pump. Heat pumps that do heating and cooling, like the ones that we're talking about now, they've been around for decades. This technology is proven. It's been around in other parts of the world for a long time. People have been using it as their sole source of heat for a long time as well. So it's not like it's something that just showed up and you might not be able to trust it yet. You can certainly trust this technology. It's been around. Been used, for instance, over in Asia, lots of people have this. Japan, South Korea, there's big manufacturers from over there that are also very popular in the United States and over in Europe. One of the fastest places that is adopting heat pumps is Scandinavia as their favorite, heating system of choice over there. So definitely a technology that you can trust and use.
So if it's hot outside, the heat pump will force cold air into your home. It'll extract the hot air out of your home, and so it sends that through pipes, and when it pushes down into the ground, it forces the cool air back up. Similarly, when it's cold outside, the heat from the ground is pushed up through your home, and so it travels. They say with heat pumps, you get a more circulated air rather than if you had a gas furnace in the basement or something like that. It's heating up from that spot, and so your basement might be toasty, but the rest of the house needs to take a lot more energy to heat up consistently.
Cool. Heat pumps sound like a great idea. Brad Carr, a Hingham resident, is in the process of getting them installed in his home. So tell us, Brad, what are you getting installed and how did you hear about heat pumps?
So I have 2 units in my house that heat and cool different floors. And several years ago I went with a heat pump for that as well, but it was an older technology, so it has both heat and natural gas. And my second unit was I had it serviced, and the technician said that I really should think about replacing it. Had a lot of problems and it was going to be expensive to fix if they failed. And so I decided to investigate heat pumps. Largely, I was aware of heat pumps through HMLP, with the flyers they put in the bills and some of the community activities that I'm involved with. So that's how I became aware of heat pumps and decided that that's really what I wanted to do. So the way I found the contractor was through Abode, which is a company that is, I suppose they're hired by HMLP.
So at Abode, we understand the challenges in providing practical solutions for the transition to clean energy. So our team designs and implements data-driven programs to drive impactful results to mitigate climate change. So in Hingham, we administer HMLP's heat pump rebate program. We offer no-cost consulting about heat pumps to HMLP's customers. We provide quality assurance for all the heat pump installs, and we curate a participating contractor list for the program. We're not directly endorsing any specific contractors, but contractors on this list have passed an application process with us. So we check to make sure they've attended relevant manufacturer training for the products that they install. We've checked references on their work, licenses, insurance, and they've committed to provide high quality customer service to operate in this program. They're also familiar with the rebate process and the requirements, so it's a good place to start if you're not sure where to look. And residents in Hingham are not required to use contractors on this list, so you're welcome to work with anybody you like. As long as the correct rebate process steps are followed by your contractor, you can absolutely still receive a rebate.
So I chose three of those contractors. They all came out, looked at the house, gave me quotes. Some of them gave me multiple different options in terms of the kind of equipment for different costs. And I eventually chose one that was right for me, I felt. The abode process was good because the first step in their process is to spend time with you on a phone or a Zoom call. I think it was about an hour, and we just went through what is a heat pump, what are the advantages, what's your house look like, what are your objectives, and just kind of educate you on the heat pump and the process itself so you feel more comfortable when the contractors come. You can kind of talk to them and what is this thing you're doing measuring my rooms and why are you doing that? So you understand what's going to happen. And it arms you to ask them questions as well. You might, whether it's warranties or efficiencies and things like that.
It's time for the heat pump lingo lesson. Chris from Abode takes us through some important terms one should know when looking into heat pumps.
You know, a short list of things that you'll probably become familiar with and things you should be thinking about. I would start it off with weatherization. And so if you haven't heard of that term before, what that really means is insulating and tightening your home. And it's an important part of adopting heat pumps. It'll save you money regardless, but it also helps ensure that heat pumps can operate efficiently. So getting a home energy assessment, that's probably the best place to start when looking at weatherization for your home. And so people in Hingham who have natural gas, they can access Mass Save. And if you have any other heating fuel type, you can go through Energy New England. Some other terms, you have cold climate heat pumps. So these are heat pumps that are designed to operate in the cold winter conditions we have in New England. And they do a great job of maintaining their heating capacity even when it's really cold outside. You have ductless mini split. These are like the wall, the floor, or the ceiling mounted indoor units that provide the heating and cooling with the heat pump. And there are also ducted heat pumps, or heat pumps that use ductwork with forced air to heat and cool your home. And some other terms I think we're going to start hearing more and more is whole home or total displacement solutions. And so that's going to refer to a heat pump system that is designed to provide 100% of your home's heating and cooling needs. Heat load calculations, or something called a manual J. Getting the sizing right on heat pumps is really important. You don't want to drastically oversize a heat pump for your home because it won't operate efficiently. And a manual J is the best way to correctly estimate the size for the heat pump for your home. So that would be the first thing that comes to mind as far as what to look for with a contractor. If they're able to do that accurately, that's a good sign.
So now we know what heat pumps are and how they work, but how do they get installed? Am I going to need to tear down part of my house to get these installed? How long is it going to take? Daniel, Director of Operations at New England Ductless, gives us insight on what the installation at Brad's home will look like.
With Brad's system, we're actually replacing an aging HVAC system. So what we're going to be doing is replacing the indoor and the outdoor unit and running a new, what we call a line set and drain between the two systems to help it communicate and then discharge the condensate as a result of the systems running. So we'll be working both outside, down next to the electrical panel, and then in the attic space that's tying into all the ductwork in the home that's kind of distributing the air and the heat and cooling. So we just kind of go through everything. We make sure that it's all safe to be working on. We make safe the electrical work for it by shutting off the breakers and the panels to make sure that there's no risk of electrocution or anything. We remove all the old refrigerant from the systems, recover all that, and put it into our trucks to take off site. We disconnect and remove all the old equipment from the job site. So that's, again, the work in the attic that we removed from the home, and the condenser that's outside that does all the heating and cooling properties. That's also removed from the site as well. And then we cut away the old line set that holds all the refrigerant and the drain system and all the wiring to replace that for communication reasons. Beyond that, we'll work to kind of prepare the outdoor location to level the whole area off, put a pad in place so that we can put the new outdoor unit on it. So it's nice and level and safe to make all the connections for. We put together a stand for the outdoor unit. and then we actually mount the unit itself. We then install what's called line hide or slim duct. It basically looks like an old a gutter system that'll hide all the connection points that go from the outdoor to the indoor unit. Put the outdoor unit in place, connect all the refrigerant piping to the outdoor unit and run it up the side of the house and connect it to the inside of the house. The air handler in the attic, that the new unit goes in and gets tied into all the existing ductwork from there. And then that's on the other end of the termination point for the refrigerant lines and the drain system, as well as the electrical. They need to replace the thermostat. So the thermostat's the piece that's actually controlling the entire system. So they can control it from their phones or control it locally at the thermostat itself. So that gets all replaced and rewired into place. And then beyond that, we're basically pressurize the system, do a vacuum and a test on everything, get everything operational, make sure it's all wired in correctly, test all connection points, start the system up and make sure it's fully operational, do a walkthrough on each room, make sure that the air is getting to where it needs to be, everything looks and feels right, and then do a walkthrough with the homeowner basically to make sure that they're understanding of how the system works, where everything is, hand over all the manuals, the thermostat instructions, the remotes, and all things like that. And we're kind of have a wrap on the job.
The process of installation, relatively easy. They dropped the equipment off in my driveway. I think it was the evening or afternoon before the team got there. The whole, start to finish, it was about a 3-day process to install. I got lucky because the weather was very mild when they were installing it, so it wasn't that much of a burden not to have a HVAC system for those 3 days. I felt like the team that I chose was very friendly, cordial. I had them put booties on their feet when they were in the house, and they were very, put down either cardboard or protective coverings on the floors when they were up in our attic, and did very professional work, I thought.
But every house is a bit unique in that, people can be looking for a whole home, distribution system that could consist of multiple outdoor, multiple indoor units. And the more work that's involved in that, obviously it's a bit more invasive and takes some more time. So, we have days that go as quick as 1 day, and we have some that last on as long as 2 weeks. So there's a whole variety of things there depending on what we're looking for. I think ultimately what we're trying to do is understand the homeowner's needs and what they're looking for in this system so they can be comfortable in the areas that they wanted heated and cooled, and determine a plan and then execute it into that. So we try to give our guys enough time to do the job thoroughly and without any mistakes or issues. So I think allowing a little bit more time usually gives a better product in the end.
That sounds pretty good, but do they require a lot of maintenance?
We did actually have a problem where it stopped heating and cooling. And I went back to the person that installed it. They install and service. They came out, I think, the next day. It took a couple of hours. There was something that had tripped in the unit itself, and they fixed it in a couple hours, and it was under warranty, so it was right back in service again.
But they are fairly low maintenance for the most part. They're nice, new, quiet systems. They operate efficiently. They're using electric only, so there's no gas or oil bills in your home anymore, unless you have a redundant system still in the background. But technology's come a long way, and Massachusetts itself has this huge goal of electrifying 1 million homes over the next 10 years and making sure that we can kind of move ourselves off that fossil fuel reliance that we've kind of relied on for so long now.
Some sources say that heat pumps can last up to 50 years, which is much longer than any gas boiler you could have in your home. I wouldn't say, though, to expect 50 years. I think 15 to 20 years is more average. So you can expect that a heat pump is going to last at least as long as a gas boiler or a furnace that you would have in your home. But if you take good care of your heat pump, which is easy because they don't require a lot of maintenance, then hopefully it'll last closer to 30 years. I think the technology is still new, especially in this area. We don't have many heat pumps in the northern states, and so as the technology kind of comes out, we'll see how long they're actually lasting. I think with the cold conditions, you might see more like 15 to 20 years.
So they are low in maintenance and straightforward to install. But how is its performance?
So probably the biggest change in our behavior in terms of having the heat pump is with the old system we had the thermostat was on a timer, so it would be a certain temperature when you're in the space, and it would be either hotter or colder depending on the season when you're not in the space. The heat pump, we just leave a constant temperature. I was told that it's as efficient, or it's efficient enough that it's better to leave it at a constant temperature. So that's what we've been doing. And it's worked well. I mean, we don't really notice a big difference. It did take a little bit getting used to, because I think when it reaches its goal temperature, it runs a little bit longer just to, like for example, if it's heating, it'll still have heat in the system, so I think it still extracts that heat, so it'll go beyond where you have the thermostat set sometimes. So that took a little bit of getting used to, and you're kind of looking at it like, is it working, is it not working? But we got used to that. And I think the other difference is the unit we bought came with a thermostat, so it has its own matched thermostat. And it is either on hot or on cold, and it doesn't automatically switch between the two. So from my electric bill and my gas bill standpoint, my gas bill used to vary with the temperature. And it would go from $40, we still have like stovetop gas, and I still have a gas water heater. But it would go from $40 a month when the furnace isn't running to multiples of $40 a month when it is running. And now it's pretty flat, month to month. So we haven't been through a really cold winter month yet, but so far the gas bill is very predictable. It's just how many people are in the house and are you on vacation or not is the only way it varies. And you do notice your electric bill go up a little bit during the heating months. But the electric bill has not gone up nearly as much as the gas bill has gone down. So I feel like just on a month-to-month basis, I'm saving a little bit of money in the process.
With heat pumps, you're getting long-term savings versus your other options for heating and cooling. There might not be as much of an initial investment required, but long-term, if you look at the costs of the fuel and things like that, you're gonna see a big difference in what you're paying. And with the rebates, you can get heat pumps installed for something similar to what you would pay for gas or oil infrastructure. I know that oil prices are crazy, so that alone, if you look at the cost comparison between oil and a heat pump system, you're gonna see the big difference right away. With natural gas, the cost is more competitive, but sometimes installing the infrastructure, all of the copper pipes, things like that are required for a natural gas system, it definitely is hard with heat pumps. You definitely want to look into all those details, get a full comparison going, and it's something that we don't see too often because there is a lot of natural gas in this area, so a lot of people don't think to look into all the costs that's actually having on your system compared to a heat pump.
Long-term savings sounds great, but there's got to be some rebates out there that people can get their hands on, right?
Any customer of HMLP is eligible for a heat pump rebate on an annual basis. And I'm not saying that everyone should have heat pumps, but everyone deserves access to the most efficient options on the market. And right now, for heating and cooling, that would be heat pumps. I do believe that more homeowners are going to go forward with installing heat pumps in the future if the initial upfront costs continue to come down over time. They're working right now in the state legislature to make sure that the cost of heat pumps and electrification is becoming more equitable and accessible to everyone. So hopefully in the future, we're going to see more grants, funding, and rebates available to people who want to install heat pumps and other things like this in their homes.
The contractor I used actually did all the rebate work for me. They submitted all the paperwork. I actually was eligible for rebates from HMLP and from Mass Save. So they did all the paperwork. I think I had to take a picture of the unit. Mass Save came out and did an inspection. And there was a couple of other things on top of the heat pump to qualify for their rebates. I had to do something in the attic about sealing the attic. And I think that was about it. But they do a full home efficiency assessment, and then they have recommended things to do, and you have to do those things to qualify for the rebate. But probably good things to do if they need to be done. The HMLP rebate came very fast. The Mass Save rebate is still pending, but it says it's in process. So I'm anticipating getting that soon. But I'm lucky enough because I already had a heat pump and I replaced the natural gas that I qualify for a whole home rebate, which is pretty good rebate.
So, would you recommend them to others in the community?
I'd obviously recommend heat pumps. I think it has an environmental benefit through the lack of, they don't use fossil fuels, so less carbon, and the electricity you're using presumably is coming from HMLP, and HMLP is on a path to be carbon neutral with the supply of electricity, so that's all goodness. And I've found that the heat pump operates just like the old unit, if not better.
Great, but can heat pumps work in any home?
Heat pumps can be installed in any home, but to make sure you get the most out of your heat pump, you want to make sure that your home is well insulated. Good insulation is very important for keeping the heat in and energy consumption low. Any interested homeowners can go to the HMLP website to see information on home weatherization rebates and free home energy audits. If you're considering installing a heat pump, please go to the website and look into having a free home energy audit conducted if you haven't had one already.
Well, there you have it. A great option for heating and cooling your home that won't break the bank, is environmentally friendly, and doesn't require much maintenance, and operates the same way as traditional heat and AC systems. Want to find out if heat pumps are a possibility in your home? Get in touch with Hingham Net Zero and HMLP to learn even more.